Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 258 based on novel. So let's start. It was obvious that Celestial Emperor Wang Lin had invented the Celestial Guard spell after these seals. The Celestial Guards imitated the ancient gods, while these seals were used to control their servants. There was a difference between the two. Celestial Guards focused on the physical body and spells were second. Once it was successful, they would never betray you unless the caster released them. The sealing spell wasn't perfect when it came to loyalty. As long as it was a spell, it wouldn't be perfect. With the passage of time, various issues that could cause the spell to be broken would arise. Wang Lin was very clear about this. When the seal landed between the big-headed boy's eyebrows, his body trembled. All the celestial origin energy in his body began to activate and an identical seal formed on his origin soul. The big-headed boy took a deep breath as he got up with a wry smile and respectfully said, "Greetings, Master." Wang Lin looked at the big-headed boy and said, "Go outside the planet and send the all-heaven cultivators away. As for you, stay here." The big-headed boy quickly acknowledged the command and let out a sigh. He jumped into the air and charged into the sky. As Wang Lin looked at the familiar earth around him, his eyes became filled with nostalgia. He had many memories here. Wang Lin felt melancholy coming back after leaving for hundreds of years. This was a very complex emotion that couldn't be explained clearly. "I don't know how many friends I can still meet," Wang Lin revealed a crestfallen expression. His shadow flickered and then Tarshan stepped out and silently stood there. Wang Lin just stared at his home like this, and the melancholy in his heart became even stronger. Shortly after, the big-headed boy descended from the sky. He calmly stood behind Wang Lin. Several rays of light came from the distance. Two of them moved faster than the rest and quickly closed in. Those two were Zhu Wutai and Yun Keizi. Wang Lin took a step forward and his entire body disappeared. He only left behind a divine sense message that echoed within the hearts of Zhu Wutai and Yun Keizi. "I want some quiet." The moment Zhu Wutai felt this divine sense, his body trembled and his mind was shocked. Although this divine sense was soft, it terrified him, and his heart was filled with respect. At the same time, there was also a complex feeling in his heart. "I didn't think that he would become this powerful after hundreds of years." Zhu Wutai was, after all, the Suzaku, so he quickly suppressed the shock in his heart. He clasped his hands at Yun Keizi and then left with his people. Yun Keizi's emotions were even more complex. Wang Lin's divine sense had made him tremble as well. The little boy from back then had reached such an unimaginable cultivation level. He let out a sigh and felt as if he could still see the figure of the youth who paid for his drinks at the restaurant. He thought about the battle between himself and Zhu Keizi, the battle between the Forsaken Immortal clan and the country of Suzaku. Now everything felt so insignificant. Coincidentally, both Zhu Wutai and Yun Keizi sealed the information about Wang Lin's return. Aside from the cultivators that awakened early, no one else knew that Wang Lin had returned. The reason the two of them did this was because Wang Lin's divine sense contained a hint of melancholy. He needed some time alone and didn't want others to disturb him. Several days later, Wang Lin looked at the familiar scene around him as he walked down a winding road. He wasn't moving very fast and his body gave off a powerful sense of loneliness. The sunset made his shadow very long and Wang Lin looked extremely lonely in the sunset. From a distance, Wang Lin didn't look like a youth and more like an old man. A wanderer who had left his home for many years. Tarshan and the big-headed boy silently followed him. Tarshan's expression didn't change, his only duty was to protect Wang Lin. If anyone showed hostility toward Wang Lin, he would be the first to attack. The big-headed boy was also silent. His heart was a mess and he couldn't clear his thoughts. Wang Lin slowly walked forward. Everything around him was unfamiliar, but there were traces of familiarity within them. This road used to be just a small country road. However, with the passage of time, it had changed greatly. As he walked, the melancholy in Wang Lin's heart became even stronger. He vaguely saw the end of the road ahead. There was a huge city there, and it was filled with noise. There was a plaque on top of the city gate, and there were 3 characters on the plaque. Wang Ancestral City. Looking at the city from a distance, Wang Lin stopped. The appearance of his hometown and the voice of his parents occupied his mind. Changed, Wang Lin's expression revealed sadness. This city was completely different from his memories. Sounds of horses and wheels on the ground echoed from behind Wang Lin while he pondered. Not long after, a team of carriages slowly arrived. These carriages were very ordinary. There were a few people riding on horses ahead of them to open up a path. Behind the horses were carriages, and a white-haired old man was sitting at the front of one of the carriages. His eyes were like lightning. He was clearly a martial arts expert. The old man would sometimes raise the whip in his hand and with a snap increase the speed of the carriage. When the old man passed Wang Lin, he seemed to casually turn to look at Wang Lin's group before withdrawing his gaze and leaving. Wang Lin's expression was complicated as he slowly walked forward behind the carriages. There were guards at the gate checking for road passes. Without one, they wouldn't let anyone in. This naturally didn't bother Wang Lin at all. None of the guards even noticed him walking by. After entering the city, the road was filled with pedestrians. The streets were lined with shops and looked very lively. Wang Lin slowly walked with loneliness in his heart. Everything before him was very unfamiliar to him. Everyone has changed. Wang Lin stood before a shop. As he looked at the shop, his vision turned blurry. He remembered that there used to be an old locust tree here with a blue stone at the root. During his youth, he would often sit here and study his scrolls. He still remembered how when fourth uncle had given him the chance to become a cultivator, he sat here that day and stared into the sky in a daze. The him back then really wanted to know what the world outside was like. Looking at the shop, Wang Lin silently pondered. Hundreds of years passed by in a flash. It might not be long for cultivators, but it was enough for many generations to pass for mortals. Maybe it was because he stood there for too long that the waiter walked out frowning and wanted to yell. However, when he saw Tarshan, he was frightened. Such a big fellow was rare around here. When he took another look, he saw the big-headed boy. The big-headed boy looked strange and terrifying. The waiter only took one gaze and quickly turned pale. He retreated 2 steps as he looked at Wang Lin before calming himself and saying, "Little brother, our shop sells jades. If you want to buy, come in. If not, leave. What is the meaning of you just standing here?" Wang Lin let out a sigh and said, "Waiter, was there an old locust tree here?" The waiter originally didn't want to say anything, but after seeing Tarshan and the big-headed boy behind Wang Lin, he answered, "What old locust tree? I grew up in the Wang Ancestral City and never saw any old locust tree." The melancholy in Wang Lin's eyes became even stronger and his heart felt bitter. He continued along the street and went further into the city. Tarshan and the big-headed boy followed behind him. When the waiter saw Wang Lin leave, he let out a snort before going back to the shop. At this moment, an elderly man came out from the house holding a cane and with a servant supporting him. He asked in a hoarse voice, "What happened outside?" The waiter quickly went up and smiled. "Shopkeeper, it was nothing. There were a few strange people asking me if there was an old locust tree here. I grew up here and never saw any old locust tree. I reckon they were mistaken about this place." The old man was startled and his dim eyes revealed a look of reminiscence. After a long time, he softly said, "I remember that I was a child. The elders said that there used to be an old locust tree here. It has been a very long time." The waiter was startled, but he didn't take this to heart. As Wang Lin walked, there were no familiar sights. Everything was strange to him. It was as if something was blocking his heart and made him feel very uncomfortable. As he walked, Wang Lin suddenly shivered. His 1,000 years of cultivation became extremely fragile and began to collapse from his body. He was like someone who had left his home for a long time. Then, after seeing all these strangers, he suddenly saw something familiar. Wang Lin looked ahead. 1,000 feet ahead, there was an area surrounded by stone walls. There were teams of soldiers patrolling the area. It was obvious this place was well guarded and no one was allowed to enter. In addition, there were a dozen auras that belonged to cultivators surrounding this area. One could imagine that this must be the most important location in this city. What was inside the stone wall was something completely different from outside the walls. There were several houses in there that gave Wang Lin a familiar feeling. There was also a grave that was built afterwards. The soldiers patrolling the walls would sometimes look inside the walls, and their face would show respect from the bottom of their hearts. Wang Lin looked at all of this and then took a step. With this step, he completely disappeared, and when he reappeared, he was inside the wall. At this moment, the sun fell and night covered the earth. Wang Lin looked at everything before him, especially the tomb built by the later generations, and he knelt down. Unknowingly, two streams of tears fell. "Dad, Mom, Taishu is back." Tears fell from his face and his eyes revealed his yearning and sadness that enveloped his body. This kneeling felt like it lasted for an eternity and time slowly passed. Tarshan and the big-headed boy were also here. Tarshan's eyes were still cold, but when the big-headed boy looked at all of this, his eyes revealed a complex expression. He originally didn't know what this place was, but after seeing Wang Lin's actions, he knew that this was Shumu's ancestral home. The big-headed boy never experienced any affection, so right now he couldn't help but think of his own childhood. Wang Lin looked at the token on the tomb. After a long time, he slowly stood up and looked at the houses. It was as if he had returned to 1,000 years ago, back to his most precious memories. As he opened the door of the yard, the door made a squeaking sound. Nothing in the courtyard was changed. The table was still there, but there were no people. Wang Lin could vaguely hear the sounds from 1,000 years ago. "Taishu, how are your studies going? Taishu, you have to study well. Next year will be the country's big test. This will determine if you have a future or not. Don't be like Dad, staying in this village your entire life." Alas! Enough. You bug him about this every day. I believe our Taishu will definitely pass. Taishu, your fourth uncle is a good person. Over the years, it is thanks to his help that your father's wood carvings could be sold for money. If you have a good future, don't forget to repay your fourth uncle. An aura of sadness spread out from Wang Lin's body. He stepped into the courtyard and the home he had left for hundreds of years. After opening the door, although Wang Lin still looked like a youth, he gave off an ancient aura. He was like an old man who hadn't returned home in a long time and continued to touch everything with his hands. When Wang Lin touched the wall, the scenes of this childhood flashed through his mind. The sadness in his heart became even stronger and the yearning for his parents filled his body. After making Tarshan and the big-headed boy wait outside, Wang Lin sat alone inside the ancestral home. He felt the aura of the house and forgot about the cultivation world as he recalled his joyous childhood and growing up under the love of his parents. The surroundings were completely quiet, and during this silence, Wang Lin's heart underwent a baptism. The memories of his childhood gradually resurfaced as he sat there alone. While he silently sat there, he sometimes revealed a happy smile and sometimes he revealed sadness. He was the only one who could recall his childhood memories, so he could only reminisce about them on his own. His happiness was lonely. His smile was clearly filled with silent sadness. Tears fell from the corners of his eyes and were left on the ground like traces of memories. The moonlight gradually passed and the sun rose, expelling the darkness. The sunlight fell on the earth and continued to extend as it covered the Wang ancestral city. As sunlight entered from the window, Wang Lin awakened from his reminiscence. He looked around profoundly before standing up and leaving. Tarshan had stood there the entire night and remained motionless. The big-headed boy's expression was even more complex. He had spent the night remembering the pain of his childhood. For some unknown reason, he was able to find relief in those painful memories. The thing he thought most about was his mother that always disdained him. Before, this memory was a great source of pain, but now it was a lot less painful. Wang Lin's group didn't hide themselves. When dawn arrived, they immediately attracted the attention of the soldiers outside the wall. Bursts of exclamations came from outside the walls as the soldiers gathered. killing intent locked onto them as if the soldiers were facing a great enemy. At the same time, more than 10 cultivators with various cultivation levels, from foundation establishment to soul formation, rushed over. Their divine senses quickly locked onto them. And furious roar came from outside the wall. Brazen fiends, you dare to break into the Wang ancestral home. Do you know that this is a crime where even your entire family will be punished? There was a flash of sword energy in the sky as the cultivators arrived, and they all looked angry. Wang Lin could tell that this wasn't fake anger, but real anger. For the three of you to enter the Wang ancestral home without being detected means you must be cultivators. No matter what sect you're from, didn't your elders warn you all? Aside from the Wang family members, no one else is allowed to take even half a step inside. The one who spoke was an old man at the soul formation stage. Tarshan revealed no expression and he didn't even look at them. The big-headed boy rolled his eyes but didn't speak. Looking at his parents' grave, Wang Lin withdrew his gaze. He looked up at the dozen or so cultivators and slowly asked, "Who built this grave?" Wang Lin's voice was flat, but when it landed in the ears of the cultivators, it was as if the might of heavens had entered their ears. A feeling of being unable to resist suddenly appeared in their hearts. This feeling came suddenly, which caused the cultivators' expressions to change greatly. The soul formation cultivator's face turned pale. He had reached the soul formation stage and had obtained his own domain, so his feeling was even stronger. He felt like his own domain was going to be devoured. It was as if there was a force that made it so he had to answer. If he didn't answer, he would immediately collapse. He subconsciously took a few steps back and said, This was built by the mortal royal family. It is the home to the Wang family ancestors and also the childhood home of my planet Suzaku's ancestor. When he said this, he looked at Wang Lin and was startled. He had a vague feeling that this person looked very familiar, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't remember. Wang family, Wang Lin silently pondered and looked at his parents' grave. He turned around and was about to leave with Tarshan and the big-headed boy. However, just at this moment, a thunderous rumble came from the distance and a large amount of dark clouds rushed over. At the same time, an angry roar came from within the clouds. You have guts. You dare to trespass on the Wang ancestral home. My Xian Dao sect has guarded his place for generations. For you to trespass here means you think my Xian Dao sect doesn't exist. A person walked out along with the roar. This person had a head of white hair and his eyes were shining. As he walked out, the powerful aura of an early-stage soul transformation cultivator appeared. After the surrounding cultivators saw the old man, they became respectful. It was obvious that this old man's prestige here was high. Xian Dao sect, Wang Lin's gaze toward the old man became a bit more gentle. He nodded and slowly said, Since you have reached the soul transformation stage, has the country of Zhao reached rank 5? The old man came in angrily, but he was startled. He frowned and said, My country of Zhao became a rank 5 cultivation country 300 years ago. All the cultivators on planet Suzaku know this. Who are you? However, when he looked at Wang Lin felt familiar. It was as if he had seen Wang Lin somewhere before. Rank 5 cultivation country, Wang Lin looked at the earth and felt gratified. When he left, the country of Zhao was only rank 3, but now, even though it had only been several hundred years, it had already reached rank 5. After withdrawing his gaze, Wang Lin carefully looked at the old man. Taking a closer look, he was able to see some clues and smiled. He was vaguely able to detect a very faint aura. This aura belonged to himself. He remembered that when he reached the soul formation stage in the country of Zhao, he left behind 10 spirit seeds. This old man was one of those 10 people. Wang Lin asked with a smile, During these years, was it your Xian Dao sect that guarded this place? Are all these cultivators disciples of the Xian Dao sect? The old man frowned and carefully looked at Wang Lin's group. For some unknown reason, his anger was forcibly suppressed, as if the person before him was very close to him. He hesitated for a bit and said, It wasn't only my Xian Dao sect. Every once in a while, a different sect from planet Suzaku comes to guard this place. Those that come are all respected figures or ones with excellent talent that will be cultivated by the sect. Guarding the Wang ancestral home is a great honor for the cultivators of planet Suzaku. The old man didn't know why he was explaining it in such detail to Wang Lin. Even he didn't know why he was doing it. After hearing the old man's words, Wang Lin's gaze swept past the other cultivators. Each of them had very good talent. With Wang Lin's experience, he was immediately able to tell that the old man was telling the truth. After silently pondering for a bit, Wang Lin let out a sigh. He was touched and said, "Thank you all." With that, he waved his sleeves and origin energy appeared. They became small crystals that fell on every cultivator. Even the guards lying on the ground had crystals fall on them. Every cultivator was startled and immediately felt heat flowing through their bodies. Their expressions became strange. The soul transformation old man was even more surprised. He looked at Wang Lin and felt like he was even more familiar. "You're very good. It wasn't in vain that I gifted the spirit seed back then." As Wang Lin spoke, he turned around and left with Ta Shan and the big-headed boy following him. The three of them disappeared over the horizon. Spirit seed. Spirit, the old man's body trembled and he immediately thought of the other person's identity. His face revealed excitement that hadn't appeared in hundreds of years and he exclaimed, "Wang family ancestor." After he spoke, the surrounding cultivators were all shaken and revealed excitement. They couldn't believe their eyes as they stared at the direction Wang Lin disappeared. He is the Wang family ancestor? The guardian of planet Suzaku. The number one person on the planet over these countless years. Wang family ancestor, Wang Lin. Wang Lin only needed to ponder a little to understand why the cultivators of planet Suzaku respected him so much. Zhu Wutai must have played a big role in this. In truth, it was as Wang Lin had suspected. The big-eared cultivator, Zhu Wutai, had been grateful to Wang Lin for giving him the position of Suzaku. However, after Wang Lin left, he never had a chance to repay Wang Lin. Zhu Wutai was a grateful person, he always remembered what Wang Lin had done for him. As a result, whether it was Wang Lin's descendants or the sect Wang Lin left behind, even the country of Zhao, they all slowly became powerful under Zhu Wutai's care. It was very easy with Zhu Wutai's status as the new Suzaku to make the Wang family royalty. This also allowed the country of Zhao to gradually grow stronger until it became a rank 5 cultivation country. People naturally knew this was all for Wang Lin's sake. Wang Lin's actions in the Suzaku tomb had spread far and wide. After thinking about it, Zhu Wutai gradually made all the cultivators accept Wang Lin as planet Suzaku's guardian and ancestor. Zhu Wutai had another reason for doing all of this. When he became Suzaku, he was only at the soul transformation stage, not even ascendant. He was the weakest Suzaku and didn't have the power to rule. Thus, he could only borrow Wang Lin's fame to suppress everyone. As Wang Lin pondered, although he wasn't able to guess everything, he was still able to get the general idea. He let out a sigh. No matter what reason Zhu Wutai had, Wang Lin would need to repay him. As he flew, Ta Shan and the big-headed boy followed behind him, and Ta Shan's expression remained cold the entire way. As for the big-headed boy, after seeing Wang Lin returning home, his feelings toward his own family became even more complex. He could see that everyone here was truly respectful toward Shumu from the bottom of their hearts. The big-headed boy knew that if he were to return to his family with his current cultivation, he would be respected as well. However, he knew that the respect would be fake. A large city appeared in the distance. This city was like a coiled dragon and was filled with the aura of wealth. The walls were made of black stone and there were spell fluctuations coming from them. Before he closed in, Wang Lin could see that there were many powerful restrictions inside the city. There were too many, and if all of them were to activate, they would even pose a certain amount of threat to ascendant cultivators. This was the only mortal imperial city on planet Suzaku outside the land occupied by the Forsaken Immortal clan. The Great Wang Dynasty. It was founded 437 years ago and became the most important clan of mortals aside from the Forsaken Immortal clan. The Wang imperial family had a very long family history. More than 400 years of consolidation had allowed the dynasty to amass a large amount of soldiers, and even countless martial artists had joined them. However, what made the dynasty so powerful was the large amount of cultivators. In addition to the Cloud Sky sect, Ju Wutai and various other sects acted as their backing. The Wang clan members enjoyed a very high status due to this. Wang Lin's divine sense surrounded the entire planet. He felt the call of his bloodline and came here. This capital had the highest concentration of Wang family bloodline. As his divine sense swept by, he didn't find Wang Zhua. He let out a sigh and then disappeared. When he reappeared, he was inside the imperial palace. Looking at the lively crowd and the luxurious houses, Wang Lin gradually frowned. This capital was too luxurious. There were precious blue and white stones used for the roads. As he spread out his divine sense, he found that the entire city was like this. If this was only the case, it wouldn't have been a big deal, but the surrounding trees were all wrapped in silk. Although it looked luxurious, it was all just corruption. After reaching his current cultivation level, Wang Lin was able to see certain things. There were sadness, anger, fear, and various other auras that could disturb a person's mind. If one lived here for too long, their personality would change and their emotions would be unstable. It would even shorten one's lifespan. This aura was a form of resentment. Wang Lin had once asked people to gather this on planet Qingling. Now that he saw this monstrous resentment above the capital, he frowned even harder. As his divine sense spread out, he found that numerous cities had varying degrees of resentment. This resentment covered half of planet Suzaku. This resentment was coming from the houses of every village and gathered near where mortals lived and continued to linger without dissipating. In particular, this was most noticeable in the northwest, where the soil was red and corpses were everywhere. Large amounts of resentment was coming from there and spreading across the area. If the other cities had strong resentment, then the resentment at the capital was a monstrous demonic flame that shot into the sky. Only someone with Wang Lin's cultivation level could notice this, and only after carefully looking for it. Otherwise, if one's cultivation was lacking, it would be impossible to detect. Nonsense. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy as he walked down the street. He was happy to see the prosperity of his Wang family descendants. However, this prosperity was built on resentment and the Wang family descendants were greatly affected. If this was the case, then there was no need for this wealth. As he walked, there were echoes of horse hooves coming from the distance. The pedestrians quickly panicked and withdrew to the sides. Wang Lin frowned as he took a few steps back and looked over with a gloomy expression. Several large horses galloped down the street with a few youths riding them and a large amount of servants following them. All of the servants were walking, but they were as fast as horses. The young men on the horses were all wearing fancy clothes and the person in front was very handsome. However, there was black gas surrounding his face. Even if a cultivator was at the ascendant stage, it would be hard for them to see through it, but it was very clear to Wang Lin. In the air, there were 2 rays of sword energy. There were 2 cultivators on the swords, and both of them were at the foundation establishment stage. They were opening a path for the youth. If they were just showing off, it won't be a problem, but what made Wang Lin frown was the cable tied to the horse the youth was riding. At the end of the cable was a person. The person was a mess and it was hard to see what he looked like, but it was obviously a man. At this moment, he was being dragged and his clothes were in tatters. A large amount of blood was coming from his body and staining the ground. It looked as if someone was using cinnabar to draw a shocking trail of bloodstains. These people quickly passed by, followed by the echoes of their laughter. The martial artists quickly passed by and the 2 cultivators flew by without even taking a glance. After these people left, a group of soldiers quickly came to clean the bloodstains. Then they quickly followed and cleaned up the bloodstains along the way. It wasn't until they all left that the surrounding people began to chatter and return to normal. Alas, what bad luck! Who was it this time that was blind and dared to provoke the 16th prince? I'm afraid he's going to be dragged around the capital once before he is allowed to die. No, in our great Wang dynasty the Wang family is the heavens. Even the immortals became their servants, Who would dare to provoke them? Don't talk about this. A few months ago, the national teacher was viewing the night sky and noticed a vicious sign coming from the northwest. As a result, hundreds of thousands of people in the northwest were slaughtered. I heard that even now, the northwest is covered in corpses. We can't talk about this. Brother Lee, let's talk about something else so we don't cause calamity to befall us. Wang Lin's expression was extremely gloomy. He clearly saw that the young man was part of the Wang family bloodline. Wang Lin softly said, "Tarshan, bring him here." Tarshan didn't say a word before he turned around and disappeared. A moment later, he reappeared with a person in his hand. This person was the fancy-looking youth. At this moment, his eyes were filled with horror and he repeatedly cursed. "You dare to capture me? Which sect are you from? Do you know who I am? I'm a member of the Wang family." Tarshan's expression was cold as he walked toward Wang Lin. The youth was immediately thrown onto the ground. This scene immediately startled the dispersing crowd before all of them quickly left without any hesitation. Their eyes were filled with terror. The fancy-looking youth had a ferocious expression as he got up and stared at Tarshan. Although he was secretly scared, he didn't reveal any fear and shouted, "I'm a member of the Wang family, yet you dare to hurt me. No matter what sect you're from, you're dead." Wang Lin's expression was cold as he stared at the youth. He could see dense, black gas coming from the youth's head. The black gas formed a snake that opened its mouth and silently roared at Tarshan. Those whose cultivation hadn't reached the second step wouldn't be able to detect this. They would only feel a cold aura explode from the youth that would make their heart tremble. Just at this moment, shouting came from the street in the distance. The group that left slaughtered their way back. 2 rays of sword energy led the charge, followed by the servants. The martial artists were filled with killing intent. There were a few youths riding on horses among the people that arrived, and each of them ferociously shouted, "Capture that thief! There is an assassin, protect the prince!" The 2 rays of sword energy charged out first toward Tarshan. The 2 of them attacked without thinking. They hadn't even noticed these people, and when they did, the prince was gone. Terrified, they turned around to search and saw Tarshan throwing the prince on the ground, and they gasped. They were disciples of the Cloud Sky sect sent here to protect the princes. If something happened to the prince, they would be punished when they returned to the sect. They charged out with their swords pointed toward Tarshan. This video will end here.